This is a 2025 Cupra Tavascan, a car that I've been really excited to get hold of. When I was about 10, I used to read Hot Wheels magazine, and there was a feature in there where you could draw your own concept cars and send them in to be featured in the magazine. And if I was to do that right now, I think this is probably what I would come up with. It's a masterclass in bold design in comparison to its sister cars, the ID5, the Q4 e-tron, and the Skoda Enyaq. Its aggressive, sporty looks and alien spaceship-like interior make it stand out amongst other cars in its class. But is it worth the nearly 50 grand price point? Well, that's what I'm here to find out today, so please stick around while I take you on a full tour of the car and get it out on the road and give it a spin. But before I show you all of the craziness that this car has to offer, if you're looking for a used car, then please check out our links in the description below, Players Cars Premium, where we will find you a deal on a used car and source one for you if we don't have it in stock. Contact us 24/7 through WhatsApp as well, makes it super easy, no waiting around for pesky emails, and free home delivery and 6-month warranty. Also 7.5% APR available at the moment, which is one of the lowest finance rates in the country. So what are you waiting for? If you're looking for an easy way to buy a used car, hit us up below. What I do really like about the Cupra Tavascan is they've started gearing it more towards including everything in the trims rather than having to tick option boxes, which is something that Kia and Hyundai have been doing for a while, and I think it works really well because when you're buying one of these used, based on the trim, you know roughly what you're getting. The only real option is the winter pack, which includes heated front and rear seats, heat pump and heated windscreen. It's about £1,100. The trims are quite easy to understand as well. You've got V1 and V2, which are rear-wheel drive single motor, 286 horsepower, 0 to 60 in around 6.8 seconds and around 355 miles of range WLTP mixed. And then you've got VZ1 and VZ2, which are all-wheel drive dual motor, 323 miles of range, so a little bit less, but you get an uplift to 340 horsepower and a significant increase in acceleration, 5.5 seconds to 60. And then the 1 or 2 signifies which trim level you're getting. So the entry-level single motor V1 trim starts at around £47,000, but it's super generous in terms of the spec as standard. Comes with 19-inch alloys, which do look a little bit lost on this car, but will be easier to maintain. You also then get ambient lighting with the electro dimming rear mirror, heated electric door mirrors. You also get the rear 3D lights with the animation, dark tinted windows, electric tailgate, the 15-inch navigation screen. It really is generous spec as standard. I would recommend though stepping up to the V2 at £53,500 because that one includes dynamic chassis control, which makes a big difference with adaptive dampers, includes the 21-inch alloy wheels and the matrix LEDs, which are better, pan roof, and also a fantastic Sennheiser premium audio system, which is 12 speaker. The augmented reality head-up display, which is really cool. It displays like a projection onto the windscreen of where you need to go. It looks a bit like a video game. I'll try and insert some clips of that. And the top-down camera, including like the 360 cam for parking. Then the VZ1 starts at £56,000, effectively the same as the V2, just with the dual motor configuration. And then the VZ2 is your top trim, currently £61,000. I wouldn't say necessarily, unless you're really after these wheels, that it's worth going for that top trim. It's also worth comparing to the ID5, the Enyaq and the Q4 e-tron, its sister cars, in terms of the pricing, but I do think there's some edges that this one has over those cars. Also comes with a 5-year warranty up to 90,000 miles and an 8-year 100,000 mile battery warranty. So let's actually have a little look around this thing then. I think this is an awesome looking car. It's really got loads and loads of road presence. I think this colour does it a lot of justice as well. This metallic paint with all the gloss black details, and especially these alloys on this top spec trim definitely look the part. But I'd love to know what you think. I think actually this just looks like something that a kid would draw as a concept car. Like, they've really taken what was a concept and pulled it into production. Yeah, around the back, I'm really impressed with how this thing looks. You've got the 3D light bar that runs along the rear, and there's some really nice detail in there as well. You can see that the lights are kind of layered on the inside with these sort of glass panels, which looks really cool. And then you've got like a 3D embossed Cupra logo in the middle, and this does the lighting animation when you unlock the car. So when you hit the key to unlock it, it will do a little animation, pulse from the middle and come outwards like that, do a little bit of a dance, which looks really cool. And do excuse the flickering, that is just a trick of the camera, but you can see there's also a Tavascan emblem built in there as well. So yeah, it looks the part, and these wheels, like I said, look awesome. I love the gloss black detailing, especially this kind of diffuser area down the bottom. You can see it really kind of stands out, makes it look sporty. Nice big Cupra emblem, and you can see that you've got the posh one because they put a VZ badge on there, so that's nice. It kind of shows you that you've got the four-wheel drive faster variant. And yeah, you can see nice practical kind of load area at the back as well because of that swooping roof line. So it's got a bit of like sort of, I don't know, Aston DBX or Urus or something about it, that kind of coupe body style at the back, even though it is SUV shaped. So yeah, I think they've done an awesome job with this. And these wheels, like I said, I'm just going to get a closer shot of these for you because they really look awesome. They're wrapped in some Hankook EV tyres, which probably aren't quite as good as your sort of Michelin alternatives, but should do the trick nicely. And the front lights do the same sort of animation. When you unlock the car, you do get, again, like a little bit of an opening animation, does like a little bit of a dance, and then comes on. And then you do also have the illuminated Cupra badge as well. Can't really see it too well in this lighting, but yeah, it certainly makes a bit of a difference, makes it look really imposing on the road at night. Just looks really aggressive, really cool. The gloss black does get filthy dirty is the only thing, but you can see there's cameras integrated in there. The charge port is around the back of the car as well, nice and easy to access. So back here, it is just on a push as well. It's not like an electrically operated one. So you literally just give it a shove and in you get. And it's got like a nice kind of cover on it as well to make sure that it's nice and watertight. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think. I even like this kind of like little ducktail spoiler here. Everyone who has seen this car so far has said that it looks absolutely amazing and they really think that it stands out, and definitely in comparison to something more tame on the same platform like the Q4 e-tron, definitely looks like it stands out a little bit more. So if you want something a little bit sportier, then this is probably the one to go for. So let's step inside. It will automatically unlock using a touch sensor. Works really well and feels quite high quality, and then you're greeted with an absolutely epic spaceship-like interior. I'm going to take you on a full tour of this because it really is something to behold, and I'm going to insert some clips here as well of the nighttime look because I don't think it does it much justice during the day. I think once you get all the ambient lighting kind of set off, it's really when the interior comes to life. But on the door cards here, you can see we have these perforations with the little Cupra arrows in the sort of leather here, and it is vegan leather, which is nice, and that's all ambient lighting, and that continues into the back as well. You've got the Cupra copper detailing that comes to a point here, which is a bit like in like your Skoda models, which is cool, and then some textured plastic. All of the plastics and materials in here are kind of a little bit soft touch and a little bit textured, so that they do have a bit of a quality feel to them, which is nice, and some nice perforations for the speakers down the bottom. There's also a speaker in the door card here, and then you have a bit of a door well. It's kind of a little bit of an inconvenient size for bottles, but it does have a partition. It's got like a separation in there, which means that you can fit a bottle in there. It's just going to be at a bit of an awkward angle, so not the most practical, but does look the part certainly. And as we step into the car, you've got the Cupra detailing, an illuminated door sill there, and you can see on the mats here, do excuse this one's a bit grubby at the moment, but you can see Cupra Sustainable Materials contains the regenerated nylon. So there's a lot of sustainable material used throughout the car, which is always a good thing. These seats are the ones that come on the top trim, so you can see they have a bit more of a bucket style. They've got a really aggressive top end with the Cupra logo embossed, and again you've got that badging in there as well, and then there's also some embroidery and some real heavy side bolstering. As you can see though, the leather is sagging a little bit already, so I'm not sure quite how well this is going to fare up over time, but they certainly look the part and are very nice and supportive seats with lots of adjustment. You can see we've got memory down here and the 12-way, including the 4-way adjustable lumbar, which does make a big difference. And then as we step into the cabin, you've got some familiar Volkswagen Audi Group stuff, but also some really unique styling features. So as you can see, everything is kind of angled towards the driver, which is a nice touch. So we'll start here and we'll kind of work our way around, but this steering wheel is really nice, heated, and it's grippy. You've got some nice bolstering, some perforation, and the really cool satellite button. So this one for your Cupra modes, this one for your drive mode select, and some nice contrast copper stitching with the copper Cupra badge. Really looks the part. However, what I dislike, and this is going to sound like me on broken record, are these horrible, horrifying capacitive buttons. These were kind of introduced on Volkswagens. They've now scrapped them because of such bad feedback. So hopefully Cupra will revert to doing the same with the physical buttons, because these are horrible. They're haptic and they make a noise when you click them, and they kind of have like a bit of a vibration, so you know roughly what you're doing, but they are horrifying to use. And I'm constantly as well, when I'm holding the steering wheel like this, sometimes I'm accidentally pressing the volume buttons with my palms here, and they're touch sensitive. It's just not nice, but they do the trick, right? So you've got a function here. This one will take you to your ADAS screen on here, so you can turn off things like your speed limit warning, which isn't intrusive at all, I must add, so no panic there. And over this side you do have some controls to to do stuff with your kind of your head-up display and your infotainment screens, so you can cycle through different bits there. If I zoom into this screen here, you can see that I've got a little bit of control over what's displayed, and then you probably won't be able to see it in too much detail, but there is a head-up display there as well, which you can also customize. So you can go onto the head-up display and I can change the view, I can change what's displayed on there, and you've also got the augmentation. You've also got paddles on the back of the steering wheel which control your regen braking modes, which I'll talk about later, and you have the newer style Volkswagen Audi Group combined indicator stalk with the wipers built in, and it's really nicely damped, nice and chunky, feels really nice to use. And then on the right hand side you have your gear select, so you've got forward for drive or B, which is your regen braking mode, down for reverse, and then neutral, and then a nice really satisfying click for park. Down here, your normal Volkswagen Audi Group switchgear, so you've got your buttons for your lighting modes, and then you've got this annoying situation for your windows. So if you want to control the rear windows, you have to press this capacitive sensor to switch to the rear. Bit of a cost-saving thing. I don't really like it. Some people love it. I'm not a fan. But that's kind of it with the nitpicks, really. Like, the material quality in here is good. Everything feels super solid. Like, there's no rattles or creaks or groans from anything. And although there is a lot of plastic use, it all feels really high quality. And this material down here, again, it's like a kind of a slightly rubberized, plasticky, fake leathery, I don't know what it is, but it feels nice and it looks the part with the contrast. Under here, you've got some USB-Cs and a wireless charging tray there, which is cool, and another little storage tray. And then this kind of big center brace area with a nice prominent hazard switch. It kind of looks a bit like a waste of space, but at the same time it really adds to the kind of spaceship feel of this interior, this cabin, alongside all of these big angles with these built-in vents over here, loads of ambient lighting and aggressive style. The cabin itself looks really futuristic, especially at night with all of the ambient lighting lit up. It looks the part. And this screen here, this 15-inch display, it is massive. It works really well for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but also you can see it's got its own system and has these really cool noises. Have a listen to this. Super responsive, works really well, and has access to everything that you would really need. It's not as comprehensive as something like your Teslas, like your Model Y and stuff like that, but even the climate control screen, it's tolerable to use. You do have to go in here for your heated steering wheel, which is a little bit of an annoyance, but the whole screen is super responsive. You've got shortcuts from the top, driver assist features as well, your parking assist, you've got the rear cross traffic alert, which is nice. It just is all really responsive. You can see all the animations work super fluidly, which is always a good thing, and definitely a big improvement on some of their previous systems, because this used to be a laggy mess when it first came out about 5 years ago, and now it is really good. There's also 3 stages for the automatic climate control, which I like, and there is the sliders, which I'm not a massive fan of, for volume and for temperature, but you can also just tap them. So if you don't want to slide, you can tap, and because you get this noise, it's not haptic, but you kind of get the idea. So yeah, not quite as much of a tech fest as like your Kia Hyundais, which have things like the blind spot cameras and that kind of thing. But the reverse cam in this isn't too bad, as is the 360 cam. You can see you get a good top-down view in this model, so that you can park nice and easily. And there is park assist built in as well. And interestingly, there is a light strip that goes along here, which reacts to what you're doing. So the car's in park. If I put my foot on the brake and then put it in drive, you'll see the light strip reacts to what I'm doing. And you get that really cool startup sound. It sounds almost a bit PlayStation to me, or like Xbox, that kind of like interface sound, really polished, really damped, and just a really nice touch. That indicator that runs along there as well, you saw it just pulse then. It will also show stuff like your charging information, and also like any hazards and warnings and stuff, it will flash red. It's a really cool little addition. So moving on to some more practicalities. Annoyingly, in the UK, we get scammed in the glove box department. As you can see, the fuse box is over there. So in left-hand drive cars, this isn't an issue. They get a full-size glove box. We do not, which is a bit of an oversight. And then in the middle, you've got some nice cup holders with grippers, and it integrates really nicely into this center area. And then if you press this, you get a really large center area that you can unlock. So you've got a power socket in there, and also this goes all the way under, so you can store lots of items in here. Really nice, large, practical space with a little shelf area too. So whilst yes, there are a few little compromises in terms of the actual physical controls and things like that, I do think that this has the wow factor that a lot of other rivals are lacking. Rear visibility is obscured a lot by the C-pillar, as you can see there, but the cameras make light work of that, so it's not too much of an issue. And then up here, you've got some touch-sensitive controls, which also give you the haptic feedback sound, which is pretty cool. And this pan roof makes a big difference. It doesn't open, but it lets a lot more light into the cabin and makes it feel a lot more spacious. And there is a touch slider up here as well to do the electric rolling sunshade if you want to block it out completely. Heading into the back of the Tavascan, you'll see that the rear doors do open pretty wide, and then as we get into the car, you notice that there is a pretty much fully flat load floor, which is nice because when you're stepping in here as a middle passenger, you don't really want anything obscuring you, and it's literally like a couple of millimeters lip. You've got the heated seats in this one, you've got ventilation back here, and also some USB-C charging down the bottom. And overall, the package is pretty decent. You get a nice bit of kind of rake on the seat, so you've got a bit of fire support there. You get the ambient lighting extending into the back. Unfortunately, no sun blinds, which is a bit of a shame in a car of this price category. But you'll notice the seat belts are on these little runners, so it makes it easy to put the seats up and down without snagging them, which is a nice touch. And then the Isofix covers back here are also the kind of pull down kind, so you're not going to ruin the leather by squidging it or lose those covers, because they're just going to tuck away when you're not using them. There's also a pass-through ski hatch in the middle, which also doubles as an armrest with some cup holders built in, which is nice and solid. But of course you can open that right up if you wanted to access what's in the middle as well. And again, with the pan roof, it just makes such a difference in terms of the overall spaciousness of this cabin. So stepping inside the Tavascan at the back then, what I do like back here is that there is a pretty flat load floor, and these seats are in my driving position, so actually plenty of room for me. I can't exactly get proper thigh support, but if I was to kind of cross my legs a little bit or spread them out, it would be absolutely fine. And even with this pan roof, decent amount of headroom. I've got probably, I don't know, a couple of inches, which is fine. It's pretty comfy. It just lacks the versatility of some of the rivals and other cars in this class. The door bins aren't as big as some other cars, and also there's no sliding adjustment or tilt adjustment on the back of the seat, so you can't get a completely customized experience, and it's a little bit less versatile in terms of changing the cargo area. But that doesn't mean to say that it's bad at all. It's very spacious back here and pretty comfortable for long journeys. It's quite wide too. As a middle adult passenger, it definitely wouldn't be great for a long journey, but it's sustainable for a shorter journey, and for kids back here it's going to be absolutely fine. In terms of the cargo area, I'm happy that electric tailgate is standard across the range. The button is just under here, and you can do it from the key, and it opens up to reveal a very generous load area. And it is quite a large load cover though, so if you want to store this away, it's going to be a bit of a pain. It's not like a retractable one that you might find in some more expensive cars or some of Volkswagen Audi Group's other offerings, but it is easy to remove, which is one good thing. But nice flat load area, as you can see. Not an awful lot of storage under here, but it's not terrible. It's just a little bit of an adjustable floor, and you can see we've got the charging cable tucked under there, and there is another additional layer under here to store like your tow hook and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of a well that you can put stuff in, and the adjustable floor obviously makes a difference if you're going to be putting some slightly taller items, but it's just not necessarily as practical as some other cars. But there is some other hidden features back here. So you've got little hooks on the side, you've also got a power socket under there with a light, and then over the other side you've got another hook. Interesting little side area there, and a 60-40 split, which is nice and practical. Let's show you how easy it is to remove this cover here. Literally pop, pop, and the whole thing comes away. One other annoyance is there's no kind of handles back here for popping the rear seats down. You have to either go to the sides, or I'm going to lean in and kneel and then press those and put those down, so that'll go nice and flat. And then I'll do the other side as well, pop that. It's a bit of a reach to get in here, which is a bit of a shame, but you can see that it does fold fairly flat. You could get it a bit flatter if you remove the headrest as well, but quite a large cavernous area there. I'm going to just pop my overnight bag in the car just to give you an idea of scale. So there we go. You can see plenty of space in there. And as I mentioned before, as you come round to this side of the car, you do have the option of popping these back up one-handed, because the seatbelt runners ensure that they don't snag. So nice and easy just to lean in and to get these up, literally just like that. No adjustment needed, which is one benefit of not having any tilt or a kind of slide. You don't have to mess around with any extra controls. You just pop the seats back up and you're good to go. So pretty good. The only thing is it's not going to fit massively tall items back here because it's kind of got the sloping roof line. So let's close it up. I want to take this thing out on the road then and see exactly how it drives. Let's get into Cupra mode. Feel the car squat a little bit. That's cool. Let's give it a squirt and see what happens. And there's that noise from Cupra mode there. You can see when I really plant it in this mode, you get that baked in kind of acceleration noise. It's not quite a combustion engine sound, it's more of a kind of a spaceship whir. And absolutely epic throttle response in Cupra mode as well, almost far too much in my opinion. Probably the most aggressive throttle response I've felt on any consumer electric car, which is pretty mad. And with a touch of a button I can go back into the comfort mode, which I can feel the dynamic chassis control really takes action there and makes it a bit of a smoother ride. And also the throttle response becomes much more muted. It becomes more of a linear surge than a kind of instant. There we go. It's still there, it's still got punch, and you still hear a nice bit of sound, but it's just not quite the same. It's a much more muted experience, which is quite nice. And that's kind of a good representation of what this car is. It's really able to be a jack of all trades, because you can live with it day to day and leave it in comfort mode and leave it in like the long range mode and go along, and it's quite a nice comfortable motorway cruiser. But at the same time, at the touch of a button going into that Cupra mode, it becomes a bit of an aggressive monster and has enough power to really kind of take you to that next level of performance. It's not the quickest by any stretch, but it certainly feels it thanks to those torque figures. And compared to something like a Tesla Model Y, it's going to feel a lot more sporty and a lot more punchy. I think even compared to a Model Y Performance, which is probably kind of in this category now, sort of 60-ish for like a top end one of these, or a Model Y Performance, that's going to be a lot quicker than this, but it's probably not going to feel quite as sporty and engaging to drive. That being said though, in terms of the day-to-day ergonomics, yes, the driving position is really nice, and actually this bucket seat I thought was going to be a problem for me. I thought it was going to be a little bit lackluster in terms of long-term comfort, but I've actually found it pleasantly surprising. It's supportive in all the right places and provides quite a nice bit of upper back support, which for me is really important. And for longer journeys I've not found it an issue at all, thanks to all of the adjustment. The pan roof I think is a really nice thing to have, just because it opens up the cabin quite a lot in terms of how airy it is, because it's quite dark in here. But the ergonomics of the screen facing me and this kind of little display here, the head-up display, and the way the steering wheel is, the driving position, the fact I've got a good view out over the bonnet, large mirrors, good view from the cameras, it's really quite good. And not to mention, if you get in anything else in this category and look around the interior, it's not going to be anywhere near as impressive as this. This is such a cool place to sit and to look at, and all of your friends are going to get in here and go, wow. That being said though, it is just missing things like the blind spot cameras, the one-touch driving assist and steering feature that you get on like Hyundais and Kias, and things on the Tesla Model Y, like some kind of more integrated apps on here with some more games and things like that. I know it's not essential stuff, but as a user experience that's going to evolve and adapt over time and work with software updates, I just think a Tesla Model Y is going to be a bit better for you. Plus the supercharger network is much more reliable and cheaper to use than other public chargers out there. But if you're not a Tesla kind of person, then maybe this is the option to go for, because when you compare it to rivals such as the Kia EV6, it is certainly more interesting. And when you look at its sister cars, the ID.5 and the Q4 e-tron, the Skoda Enyaq, yes, those cars are going to be a little bit more comfortable and just a little bit less aggressive on the day-to-day in terms of styling and practicality, but it's definitely not as cool as this, is it? It's not going to get as many looks. I think compared to those other cars, this feels a little bit more hardcore, but it still does the comfort thing just fine. And people don't really do the whole, oh, what's a Cupra thing anymore. People know what they are now, which is a really nice bonus. You don't have to explain it to people. And it is kind of the edgy, cool option, isn't it? You could go for an ID.5, which is going to be a little bit smoother, but yeah, it's going to be quite dull to look at, and the interior I think is a little bit yuck in those. And then when it comes to like the Enyaq, I think that's probably the most viable alternative, I would say, because it is basically this, just a bit toned down. So that's probably the one I would look at if you want this, but a little bit less glitz and flashy. So yeah, the ride is pretty good. It can be a little bit fidgety at times, but it does feel like it's got a nice low center of gravity, which means handling isn't too bad at all. I think it could probably do with a little bit more lamination in this glass though, just to reduce the kind of outside noise a little bit more. Something like a Kia EV3 or EV6 is going to be a bit more muted in the cabin and have some more luxury features. But get your cruise control on, get comfy, and actually this makes a nice cruiser. It's fairly maneuverable around town as well. The turning circle's okay, and actually with the cameras and the fact that I've got a good view out over the bonnet and the wheelbase isn't actually tremendous, it's not too bad to park either, as well as having the park assist features. And the ADAS isn't that intrusive. There's no annoying beeps from the speed warning. It does do it, but it's not at all intrusive. And the most aggressive thing I would say is the lane keep. Like, it will tug you back into lane and vibrate the wheel and stuff like that. But it's not really too bad. It's definitely been toned down compared to previous iterations. But there are versions out there, such as Hyundai Kia that I always mention, that just do it a little bit better. Right, we're coming up to a roundabout here. I'm going to put it into Cupra mode, which stiffens everything up and gives me that crazy aggressive throttle. And I've got it in B, which is the regen braking mode, which means that I can kind of slow the car down a little bit more. Let's take it round here and just see what it does in terms of handling. This obviously being the four-wheel drive model. Whoa, straight away I've got a little bit of slip at the rear, which is quite nice. Whoa, there we go, yep. It's a bit playful. The traction control does kick in, but it does allow you to kind of wiggle the rear a little bit, which obviously is going to be more prominent in the rear-wheel drive model. But actually I was expecting it to feel a bit heavier and more understeery there, and of course you can feel the weight, but it does feel like quite a low center of gravity, a bit like an EV6, so you can kind of like throw it into places and it feels like it's going to be quite direct. There is a little bit of delay to the input of the steering, but nothing too dramatic, and I'm going to take it down some more challenging roads now to see what I think. But yeah, this throttle response in Cupra mode is not practical for day to day. It's absolutely sickening. It's a big heavy car this, but I think it's probably going to be fairly capable. So let's get on the brakes, get in here. That noise that's pumped in is really cool. It's not at all intrusive or annoying. It's actually quite nice when you're actually giving it some beans down a country road. To have that kind of whirring away does give you an extra sense of speed, I think. Definitely firmer in this setting. I would like a little bit more texture through the steering wheel though. It's typically Volkswagen Audi group, a little bit numb. I can tell where the car is and what it's doing, but I don't really feel much of the road, which is a bit of a shame because it does take away from the dramatics a little bit. Brakes, unfortunately, do have that regen sponginess to them. They've got a lot of travel, and I don't feel an awful lot of confidence until you get right down to the bottom of that travel, unfortunately. So again, that does take away a little bit, and there is a lot of regen braking mode, so it's got the paddles you can adjust it with, but I haven't found it to be too reliable. You can press the one on the left and it will increase the regen mode to kind of be more aggressive, but it won't ever bring you to a complete stop. So there's no one pedal drive, which is a true shame, because I do think one pedal drive as an option on electric cars makes it much nicer to live with day to day. And of course, something like a Tesla Model Y or any of your alternatives from Hyundai or Kia have that option, and the Hyundai Kia options also have the paddles with the regen, but it will take you all the way down to what they call iPedal mode, which is your one pedal drive, and I think that is a better solution. This, I think they've tried to implement something similar, but actually it's quite unreliable. It doesn't always kick in when I press the paddle. So actually I found it frustrating to use, and I don't really use it. I just put the car from D into B, which is your more aggressive regen mode, and I leave it at that, and I don't bother touching the paddles to adjust it because it just doesn't always do what I want it to do. But down here though, we've got quite a tricky road, and yeah, it feels really planted. It feels like a much lower car than it actually is, more compliant on the chassis in terms of the kind of the way it flexes around and feels. It doesn't feel like there's loads of body roll, doesn't feel like a big floppy SUV at all. Feels more like a kind of inflated hot hatch, and I guess that's probably where they were going with it. It's kind of a bit like a Cupra Born that's been on steroids, and again I praise that car because it's basically an ID3 but more interesting. And granted, it's not going to be for everyone. Some people prefer the more muted styling and the less aggressive interior and kind of the more comfortable air suspension options and things like that, but for me, I think this is the one that I would be interested in out of the trio. I think the only real deal breaker for me with this is these steering wheel controls. They really need to just stop it and do away with it and do what Volkswagen have done and go back to the other ones. And to be fair, they have been doing that with other Cupras, so hopefully this follows suit, because these to me are just frustrating and unusable, and it really lets the experience down. And I've been achieving more like 300 miles of range rather than the sort of 350 quoted, but I do quite a bit of motorway and I am quite aggressive on the throttle. But yeah, I do think it is a solid option though. Like, Cupra have really come a long way in terms of establishing themselves as their own brand compared to the Volkswagen counterparts and the sort of Seat original cars. It's not the same anymore, and that makes a big difference. But What I like about this is just that it's such an aggressive styling option compared to its sister cars, but still shares a lot of the same components, which makes it a nice experience. There are some cars that I have on test that I drive and I like and I recommend, but this is one that I always get in and I grin, I enjoy the experience, I feel like a bit of a kid again. I always look back at it when I park it in a car park, and every time someone gets in it, one of my mates comes and has a look at it, they're always absolutely wowed by the design. And that's what you want when buying a car in this price bracket, don't you? You want it to be really exciting. I really like that as well. It's not as crazy and dramatic like the Hans Zimmer stuff you get in BMWs, but just that shove of torque with that sound accompanying it, and this interior just feels like you're just absolutely catapulting a spaceship down the road. And that's enough of that. Let's get back into comfort mode and relax. And what a difference that makes. Now, I'm a big fan of the Cupra Tavascan. I've not got a lot of bad things to say about it. A lot of them are nitpicky, but it's definitely one of those cars you've got to go and check it out compared to its rivals. You've got to test drive one, you've got to see it in person, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised because it looks the part, and also actually the driving experience is pretty impressive too. So thank you so much to Cupra for sending me out the car. As always, much appreciated. And thank you to you guys for watching. All of your likes, comments, subscriptions go such a long way. I can't even tell you how much it means. So please continue to do so. And if you're looking for a used car, please do check out our links in the description below where you can find Players Cars Premium. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.